So I can blow through this really quick and we can talk through it and we can come back for either additional questions next month and you can think on it. We can make some votes or whatever, but it's 8:25, so here we go.
I am sorry.
That's okay.
You like to talk.
All good. Let me throw this up real quick. Can everybody still hear me?
Yes. Oh, yes.
I've never been accused of being quiet. All right. We'll get you the Cliff Notes version, and then we'll probably, what we'll do is we'll recycle and put it back on the agenda next month, and we'll dive deeper into it for next month at this point, because we're not going to be able to do it justice tonight, and I apologize, but I did want to at least make sure you could see it, because we committed to doing that last month. So here is the single-page Cliff Notes version. We have had multiple times, multiple checks occur from the bottom of the tower, scanning it with multiple TDRs. And Dan, I don't mean to jump in. All of them, the net of this is all of them come back that the problem is at the top. We have exhausted everything at the bottom that we can do. We got to go up. Okay? So if we're going to go up, we need to make sure that when we go up, we are up there once and done. And once and done means new antennas, new connectors, new coax inspection, all that, and going up. And so we go up, we're done, come down, 10 years later, we don't worry about it. That's the mentality that we're kind of approaching with the board. That's what we've talked around and considered. So to do that, there's 3 antennas that we're talking about. There's the 14682 uses currently 1 antenna. One of the best recommendations we have is to split that antenna into a transmit and a receive antenna, with the receive antenna being higher at 700 feet and the transmit antenna being lower at 500 feet, so that we get we don't have to turn the antenna. We use basically 1 antenna to transmit, 1 to receive, so the receive is not going through a charged antenna that you just transmitted out of. Great if you could do it for the repeater. We have the ability to do that because we've got 2 inch and 5/8 runs going 1 to 700, 1 to 500. The challenge with that is we've got to repair one going to 500 feet, which we don't know what's wrong with it, so we got to go up the tower to find that out. So, but to split the antennas, we need 2 antennas. There's 1781 apiece. So we have to buy 2 antennas at $35.63. When we're going up, since we're going up the antenna, so we're going up the tower, the 440 antenna that we use for the DMR repeater at 443-700, it's getting a little long in the tooth. Might as well replace it since we're going up the tower. That's another $1,300 to replace the 440 antenna. It's at 500 feet on 7/8 inch coax. The tower climb is, we've got one climber that's given us a bid for $2,500 a day, and we got another bid for $3,000 a day. There's a pros and cons to each, but for the math that you see on this slide, I'm presenting the $6,000 a day. Neither climbing company that we've contacted, both of which are approved by the tower that we're on, recommend that they can do it in a single day. It's a dual day, 2-day climb. So at a minimum, it's 2 days. So for the purpose of these numbers on the slide, $6,000. Antenna delivery we'll talk about in a minute, but it's $300 to pay someone to go to Kansas City to get them. Connectors, we put a budget in here of $1,200 for the connectors. We'll show those in just a minute. At the bottom of the line is $12,000 and some change, which is a large number. Let's talk about the antennas. Here's the actual quote from the Tally website where we got the quote for the antennas. This will be, you can come back and review this if you want, but it shows the pricing on that. The delivery, it is far, far, far cheaper to go to Tally in Kansas City and pick the antennas up than to have them ship these 14 to 18 foot antennas via less than truckload freight. So paying someone that is willing to go do them $300 for gas and money and hotel to take a truck and a trailer to go get them is by far and away the cheaper solution to get the antennas delivered to us. Connectors, here's why we have a connector that we wanted to talk about. We've got, like I mentioned, we've got 1 inch and 5/8 going to 700. We need to potentially reconnectorize it. We've got 1 inch and 5/8 going to 500 feet. We potentially need to reconnectorize it. We've got a 7/8 coax going to 500 feet that we potentially need to reconnectorize as well. Plus, there are 3 jumpers with connectors on each end of that, so that's 6 connectors on the 1.5-inch coax. The half-inch LDF 50 coax that we use for jumpers at the top of the tower. Which that $1,200 also potentially includes LDF 50 half-inch coax to replace the coax that's up there with new known quantity coax for jumpers to go from the 1 5/8 and 7/8 to the antennas. It is a recommendation from one of the tower companies that's been doing this a long time that we change and not use end connectors at the top. We use these PVC DIN connectors, which here's a little blurb on that and why they are recommended. The LT industry's been using them because they're guaranteed not to leak. That's the word leak, not to stutter. They're guaranteed not to leak even if the O connector, the O-ring goes bad. So once you put them on, they're not going to get water intrusion back down into the coax. That's the advantage of that. And for us, it wouldn't make a big difference. We don't care what the connector is up there as long as we know what connector is up there. So if we ever have to fix it or repair it, we know what's up there. Good record keeping, good documents, which Dan's really good at. That's what makes that happen. So there's a detail on where the connectors are. We've got some additional concerns. We won't try to dive into these, and I'm talking really fast. So if I'm talking fast, tell me to slow down. But we've got to talk about, and we'll dive into this next month, we've got to talk about the operating reserves for the club. This is a significant chunk of change out of the operating budget. The Treasurer's Report's published in Sparks. I encourage you to review that for next month when we talk about this in detail and why we need to talk about the operating reserve. And then the other thing that we need to talk about is the club budget for the past couple of years has been operating negatively. It's not been that big of a deal for us because we've had the cash reserves to cover that. But if we're going to reserve and use a lot of our reserves to go and repair the repeaters, which I've heard the membership say they want and would like for us to do, we did need to circle back around and talk about the budgeting shortfalls that we're having on the club yearly operating budget. We also have to factor in that the Ham Expo that we ran last year, we're going to run again for the next year and run again in 28. We need to make sure we don't deplete the reserves for that. So those are some of the concerns that we're going to have to work through. Now, one of the things that we have to do to address the shortfall that we're talking about, we got to talk about dues, we got to talk about membership. We won't try to get all that onion peeled tonight, trying to put all the topics on the table real quick because I committed personally that you would have something to look at tonight from last month. So that was me talking really, really fast. Now I'll stop and throw the floor open to questions. Yes, sir.
Any late breaking word on grants or any other ARRL or any other sources?
Adam is looking into that. The foundation is potentially doing some grants. The cap on their grant is $5,000. He's pursuing that. Actually, delaying this a month will potentially allow us to potentially flesh out some of that grant. Not a bad thing. Just I know we're trying to get things moving. The membership's saying get it fixed. We're listening. Questions? Okay, that is stunned silence. I'm scared. Now, yes, Ms. Carolyn.
Are there any seasonal concerns? Are there any times of year when they came to decline?
None that have been expressed to us at this time. They both said it's a four-person crew. I don't know what their availability is yet or what the scheduling looks like. Adam had some projections on the tower climb. We may need to look at a 3-6 month window. I don't know. We'll reach out to them and see what that looks like. But the reality of that situation is we have to expend the expenditures to have all of the parts gathered before we say we're ready for the climb. We need to make sure we have the antennas, the coax, the connectors, the new jumper coax. All of that has to be in hand at the bottom of the tower before we say come climb it. Yes, sir.
So what's the primary concern? I mean, is it the logistics of putting this all together for finance or what? What's your heartburn?
Well, I don't particularly have any heartburn per se, other than the responsibility of the board is to make sure that financially we don't make the club insolvent. Okay? So as long as we work within those parameters, and I don't want to speak for all the board members, they're all in the room. Chime up if you want to add to this. Our responsibility is the membership is asking us to get it fixed, we've got to come to you and say, okay, here's the plan to get it fixed and not put the club into financial distress. And that's what we're trying to do here, okay?
Well, we also can't just spend money without approval, so we're
Right.
we're trying to get our numbers together, and it just takes a little while to go back and forth to get the climbers to call us back, figure out which ones we want. It's just taking time to assemble. It's a large project.
This is completely unbudgeted. So as a result of that, that's not a big deal, because here's the way our bylaws and constitution and the club work. Is if it's completely unbudgeted, no problem. The membership can readjust that with the membership's approval. So that's really what the board's saying, is this wasn't in the budget, this is how much it's going to cost. The membership has to say, yes, do it, yes, spend the money. We're trying to present to you preliminary cost estimates, get them a little sharper. We'll come back and debate all of the other concerns, because that's the financial heartburn. Because you've got access to the treasurer's report. Paul's right here, we'll answer any questions, but it's getting late, and I don't want to keep anybody later. I'll be glad to talk about it as much as we want, but I'm also being cognizant of it is drawing late. That's the bigger concern. Let me put it this way, bluntly. We have the funds. We can do this. We just have to make sure we understand what this impacts, because it's not as simple as there's X in the bank, we just need to spend Y. We have to face the fact that we've got the expo, because we've committed to run the expo for the next 2 years at a minimum. We can't get ourselves into a situation where we can't do that. We can't get ourselves into a situation where the club ceases to operate because we've physically drained everything that we have access to. So we've just got, as a board, it's our job to kind of balance that. That's what I perceive as our job, to balance that, present to you the picture. Now, praise to Paul and a lot of work that he's done behind the scenes. He's done a lot of financial modeling for us, and we'll dive into that, just not tonight. He has got 4 or 5 sheets of a spreadsheet that he's worked up that says different scenarios of how we can get there and what it impacts. You know, the other thing that we need to factor into this real quick, the expo next year, it's always been planned that when we did the expo next year, we would go back to the ARRL and ask them for another grant. Not as big as the first one, but a smaller grant, kind of a mid-sized grant to help us with, and they committed to that as a 3-year plan. Okay, big grant, medium grant, small grant, year 1, 2, 3. So as a factor of that, we'll go back to them and say, hey, this is what we think the medium grant needs to be for the expo. Unfortunately, we can't show that on the budget because that's not real money at the time. So we have to kind of we have to understand that. All right, I've talked too much. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do they warranty their services? So say they go up and they do all that work and it works great, and then after 3 months it stops working?
That is an excellent question that we will make sure to ask them. I assume so, but has it been asked directly? No. I will tell you that one of the tower companies that we asked to come provide a bid on this sent one of their technicians with a, I don't know, what is it, a $5,000 or $6,000 instrument, no charge, drove over from Jonesboro. And that was the report that Adam sent out in Sparks. They did that totally free. Totally free, no charge, an hour and a half from Jonesboro, an hour and a half back, and about 2 hours on site. Just to help us figure out, okay, is it at the bottom or is it at the top? Again, we had done that before, kind of knew it, but they said, yeah, it's at the top. Got time to go up.
These guys have seen a lot of antenna installs, so they know how to read the chart for saying, oh yeah, you got water damage up here and it looks like you probably have a problem with your antenna. They can see that and understand it a little bit better than I can.
I mean, it's something they do every day. We do this every 10 years. Questions? All right, we will bring this back next month for a deeper discussion, longer discussion. We'll talk about pros and cons, impacts, and we'll make sure that we have the time slots to address this, because one of the things that we will need is we will need the membership to tell us yes or no, because the board is not able to approve this. The membership has to approve this expense. There was a question in the back. I saw a hand sneaking up. Nope. All right. Well, that is all that I have for the presentations. Any wrap questions on field day? Any other questions? All right.
Set up, we're meeting Saturday at 9 o'clock.
Set up 9 o'clock Saturday at the site. Look for an email with a sign-up sheet. The sign-up sheet's helpful for the time slots you want to run, the stations you'd like to operate on, and what meals you're going to be at. Neshoba is taking the primary lead on meal planning this year. We said, hey, we did that last year. We all do that this year, and they said absolutely. So they're going to do all the meal planning for this year. And they've got some great ideas and are very excited about that. Look for that sign up to come out this week. All right, any other concerns? Last thing I'll put in is a very shameless plug. Please take a minute, let us know what you think about this on the Signal report. It helps us a lot. It helps us know what was interesting and what was not interesting, and what we should change or not do, or what we should do more of. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Moved by 84Q and seconded by Don. All in favor? Aye. Thanks, everyone. Y'all have a fantastic evening.